I don't believe I ever made a video on how to change your car's oil, so let's do that. So it's pretty easy. Anyone can do it really, and I recommend you do it because usually when you go to like one of those service stations, especially dealerships, they'll pretty much give you the cheapest crap possible, and that's why you see it. Oh, oil change is only $30 or maybe even less. And sometimes they scam you, don't even actually change your oil or change your filter. So it's always good to pick up on this stuff your own and do it. Plus, you can always get your preferred, better quality oils and filters and everything. So first things first is get to know your car a little bit. What engine, what year. And just based on that knowledge alone, you could just go right on the internet and search it up and usually find out. It'll even say usually like right on the oil fill cap or in your owner's book what it takes. Otherwise, just go to the auto parts store and maybe the guy will give you a recommendation on the oil he likes, and he'll get the oil filter in the computer and ask you if you want the premium quality one or not. Usually you'll probably want to anyway. As far as what I recommend, oil, it really doesn't matter to me. Most of the name brand oil is really good stuff. I'm just going to run this Quaker State because I got a whole bunch of it, but you know, Peak, whatever, gas station oil, as long as it has that on there, that little API service circle, it's a good oil. You could choose which brand you want. I usually will probably go with like, I guess Quaker State, because they usually have a sale on stuff like that, or high mileage, what's it called? You know, stuff like that. Oil filters, I'm a little bit more picky. I like Wix myself because there is quality differences between oil filters. Like, the worst kind you don't want is the orange can of Fram. I think Fram Premium, I think they paint them gold even. Those ones are okay. No. Napa Gold is the same thing as Wix, so is Motorcraft. You know, just look up on videos on people tearing apart oil filters, dissect them, and Wix is pretty much the best, really. It's the only one I really want to get ever. So, with that said, I got a Napa Gold, which is a Wix filter for all intents and purposes, just made for Napa. Sitting in here. Also got, yeah, Valvoline Max Life. Usually get that a lot, just in case my big jug doesn't fill up or I get some more oil leaks. And for my car, I'm getting high zinc production, but that's probably something you won't have to worry about. My car's got old hydraulic flat tappet camshaft, so it's just a little bit more wear prone, and it likes zinc better. Anyone with the old AMC inline 6, even the updated 4 liters that they put in Jeeps up into 2006, you're kind of want to get something with zinc in it, because modern oils kind of lack that, so that's cool. Anyway, once you get that done, you're going to want some basic tools. Figure out what size a drain plug is. I forget what mine is, but mine's standard. Most of you guys will probably be a metric size, and you just need a simple wrench, and you don't need to, you shouldn't have to really pry it hard off unless someone impacted on there. If that's the case, you might have to repair your threads in there. Another reason why not to go to an oil change shop, because they'll usually over tighten them and strip out the drain plug, and that's a real pain to fix. And you know, I think at most 15 foot-pounds. Depends. You don't really have to get into super technical. You just get it good and tight and not over tight. Same with the oil filter. Oil filter only needs to go really hand tight. I'll get into that once I get into that. But get your oil drain faster. You want to have it warmed up, not totally hot, because you'll just burn yourself. And just get your cap off. Open your dipstick just to let the airflow kind of go through and let the oil drain faster. And then have your oil drain catch can. Most auto parts stores will take the stuff, you know, just put it in like a used bottle. What else? Just in case your oil filter is super tight, you can always go ahead and pick up yourself a little oil filter wrench. They make them for sockets or something like that. Just so you don't have to stab through with the screwdriver to try to pry it off, or, you know, try to squeeze channel locks in there. It just kind of makes it easier. I try to make sure I don't have to use this, and I've only had to use it once for the filter that was stuck on there in the factory on this launch tractor. So That's the way it ought to be. And then you want your funnel, of course. And then I guess one other thing to point out is you drain them this way. Because science. But yeah, let's get started. Cardboard's always nice. Beats these little whatchamacallums. And your drain plug, usually on the bottom of your engine. I'm kind of pointing at it. It's hard to see because no light, but it's a. You don't want your transmission one on your front wheel drive car. These are going to be like all up here, and just look at your engine basically. It's the one with the spark plug wires going into it, your air filters going into it, or your oil filters attached to. When you'll see like it kind of separate into like another giant machine with like shafts coming out of it to your wheels. That's your transmission. You don't touch that. You get the drain plug. Usually transmissions don't have a drain plug anyway, so, and I think even a lot of modern cars will even label it for you. Just make sure you get the drain plug. You'll know if you screwed up if anything other than oil looks like it comes out. Like if it's red, that's your transmission. Or if it looks really clear or something, you know you might be in your brake lines. I don't know how that would happen, but yeah, it's not too difficult to screw up. You'd have to be pretty unaware of what you're doing to do something like that. And you might want to jack up your car, although I could probably just squeeze right in there anyway, because mine's a little bit off the ground. But I guess I ought to go and jack safety, because you're probably not too familiar with things, but your car will have a recommendation where they're jacked up, usually somewhere in here. You'll see a good amount of structure, and it might even be labeled with a dot or something. That's a good point to jack up, and when you do jack up, do not just keep the jack there to hold it up. You need a jack stand. Those things are known to fail so many times, and the car basically crushes you to death. That's it. You can literally just pick up something like this little cheap thing for like, what, 20 bucks? Even less? Just really quick at the store. Enough. That will pretty much work for the most part. 2 is nice because then you can get the whole jack or whole car up in the air, like what I got here. Had my finger in my way. Yeah, just make sure you got the jack stands in the right place. You're jacking up on a good supported area on your car, somewhere structured. You don't want to jack up on your oil pan because that will bust it through, or any of the pans for fluids or any of that. Usually just check out your owner's manual. It'll tell you a good spot to jack up. Block off the wheels that are still on the ground. Use your parking brake and your e-brake. You know, you jack up your front wheel drive car, you have it in park, but it's only locking, you know, the front wheels, and then you soon discover that if you're on a little bit of a surface, the car will start rolling away even though you're in park. So just keep that in mind that, you know, if you got front wheel drive, park isn't going to necessarily do it for you. You'll want that e-brake on and wheels blocked off just to prevent it from rolling off on you. Mine's rear wheel drive though, so park works, so. If it's all wheel drive, you know, same principles pretty much rear wheel drive, except you can pretty much jack it up in any area. But I'd still use the parking brake nonetheless, just in case, because the parking brake, I think, is just like a little small pin in your transmission that keeps it from rolling, basically. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it, so let's just get started already. Alright, so for mine, it's a 9/16 wrench. If you guys don't have tools, you'll probably just borrow one from your neighbor or your friend. You only really need one wrench to do this. I hate to imagine they won't allow you to do that. Otherwise, you can get them really cheap at the parts store. If you have a newer car, it's probably metric, so just to let you know that. Figure it out beforehand before you buy tools, eh? Now, when the oil comes out, it's going to come out like this, so don't put the catch can right underneath of it. You'll have to just adjust it accordingly, usually. And try not to lose your drain plug. And it just comes out. Yeah. Use your box end of the wrench, at least to start it. I just make a habit using the box end because I find it easier anyway. I know most people just like using the open end. But I think it's just harder for some reason. I guess. And once you get loose, you can just usually get it by hand. Any second now. There you go. Delicious oil. We'll leave that there. Usually there's a magnet at the end of these so you can kind of see what metal debris was in there. Main reason why I'm changing mine is because I had to drill some holes in my head and tap some new threads in there, so I'm pretty sure, even though I tried the best of my abilities to get rid of any metal shavings, I'm sure some got in there, so I'm just wanting to make sure I can do what I can. Also, make sure you have some like rags or something, shop towels. See, it's already starting to go out. Of course, I had a major oil leak that I just had to fix up right now. I think it's fixed anyway, so. But yeah, just drain your oil. And then your filter, hopefully you can just spin it off by hand. Hopefully. Otherwise, have your wrench tool in hand. And your oil filter depends just on where they felt like putting it. Mine is right on the side of the block, kind of pointing upwards. Yours will probably be completely sideways, so when you start taking it off, it will leak oil everywhere. And it's unavoidable. Completely unavoidable. Why do they do that? Because they think it's funny. See? Spins off by hand. That's the way it's supposed to be. Actually, let me tighten that up real fast. I forgot. The oil comes out. I'll have a second drain for that. But basically, what I wanted to get at is when you do take that off, you need to make sure. Actually, got a lawnmower one I can use as an example. When I just think of that. But you see this little rubber gasket around there? You want to make sure that came off along with your filter. Make sure it's not stuck up on the side of the block. They will sometimes do that. And a lot of the garages will miss that completely for some stupid reason and put the new filter on with that second gasket on there, and you start up your car, you start driving, you're leaking oil everywhere, and before you know it, oops, engine seized. That's when you call your lawyer or something. The shop buy you a new engine. So yeah, that's just another thing to be really careful about. And when you do install your new filter, usually what people would recommend is pouring as much oil as you can in there without it, dripping out everywhere, because it kind of helps prime the system up so your car doesn't have to kind of fill with that oil filter. But usually car filters are small enough anyway, it doesn't matter, and they're usually like upside down mounted or sideways mounted, so that's kind of impossible to do. But if it could be helped, yeah, why not? Might as well. And what else was I gonna go at? Oh yeah, make sure you prime your new rubber filter too. Your rubber gasket. Just take a little bit of oil and rub around the edge of that, just so it helps seal against that. And I think that'll also help keep it from sticking next time you take it off. Otherwise, it's pretty much just take it off, put the new one on. Pretty straightforward, really. So, try to get you a view. It's probably still dripping. Yeah, let that drip for a little while. Get all every single bit of it. And yeah, that's really all there is to it. Once you get that done, you put your funnel in there, and then you, well, I guess it's good to know how much oil your engine is going to take. Something you probably should look up before you buy all your oil, just so you know roughly how much it's going to take. And I think mine will pretty much take just that whole bottle right there. It depends on your engine how many quarts, but when you say, hey, it needs 4 quarts, you can pretty much comfortably just dump in 3 quarts without measuring. On the 4th one, though, you're going to want to keep taking out your dipstick, wipe it off, check the level, add a little bit more as needed. And then once you get up to full line, take it a little bit more overfill, because the oil filter does take up some oil too. Otherwise, you could just leave it as is, run the engine, check it the next day, and then just top it off a little bit more. You know, it's not a ton of oil that goes in that filter, but just to be completely on the level end. But yeah, I mean, I could show you that part, but you know, use your imagination, I guess, because this video is probably already 15-20 minutes long of me just rambling on about changing your oil. I showed you the hard parts. Thanks for watching anyway, guys.